even though we know that our strength will decline as we age, then we know from research, also because it has been researched the most, that our VO2 max is a big indicator on our longevity. And basically VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen you can use per minute. Welcome back to Fueling Your Life podcast. So today we are talking about longevity, especially in fitness. When people start working out or do weightlifting, whatever, it's always to change their body, so either lose weight or get bigger, which is the two most common. But it's not necessarily that it's good for longevity. Yeah, you can say, of course, lose weight will improve your health for the long term. But usually, we always said, oh, I want to lose 20 kilo, but you don't know if 20 kilo will fit your body or your body can sustain that. And also by implementing more healthy habits, you will automatically get to a weight that is more sustainable, that you can maintain. Because you can also always go in the other spectrum, where it becomes unhealthy. Well, when we are talking about longevity, at least in my opinion, then it is that we want to be able to move, have energy, have no pains for our whole life. Like, even when we are old, we are still able to move, we are still able to function, we still have energy, we have plenty of energy to move around and be around other people. And it's basically more about working against the aspects of our body that will decline as we age. So when we get older, we know that our strength, power, and speed, that it goes down. Where we basically just want to work on these aspects so we can maintain it as much as we can through our lifetime. So in this episode, we will talk about strength training, cardio, and diet. So jumping into strength training, the research has shown that as we age, our strength decreases. But it's not only our strength, it's also our power and speed. So speed will go down the most, and speed is basically your reaction time. So if you fall, you quickly can put up your hands to grab yourself. Then the next is power, which is the second fastest decline, and then strength. So a few things to know about strength training is that it, of course, it builds a small amount of muscle mass, but it also, another way to say it, is the force that you can produce with your muscle, and you can either do it with weightlifting or body weight, but there's also a difference between those two, because weightlifting is your absolute strength, and it does not translate that well, mostly also because your muscles are isolated when you train, so you're not really doing that many compound. Where body weight is more or less all exercises are compound exercises where you activate multiple muscle groups, but it's your relative strength to your body weight which translates into other things, for example weightlifting. And if you want to, for example, train power and speed, it's more explosive movement. You go lighter and do more of these Olympic weights. So you can go more into something like CrossFit and plyometrics, and just where you throw up the bar in with a lot of speed and force. But there's also a time and place to do these things, which we will cover. But another important part when we are training is that we want to be well-rounded. So we want to increase our strength, get more mobility, and be more flexible. So depending on your age and fitness level, you want to adjust the amount of weight, and as it also have this risk of injury. So for example, the older you get, the more inclined you are for injuries using free weights, because you need more stability when you get out, and it's also far dangerous to get an injury because it takes longer to recover. So with free weight, you want to use lighter weights, take more time to recover. If you want to lift heavy, use the machines, and it helps support you more. As a young person, you can go a little bit heavier, and you can also do more heavy exercise or lifts more often as you have the faster recovery. So when we are training, you want to focus on your back, chest, abs, glutes, quads, and hamstring. And especially for most people, it will be your glutes and hamstring, as we usually just sit down, or we sit the whole day. People are walking forward, so we're not really using it. So there are muscles that really lag behind, and it will be, of course, good to train. In that way, you can avoid knee pains, and you can also avoid injuries if you're running. And also, as you get older, also start to incorporate 30 minutes a week for mobility and flexibility routine, because that will help you feel more movement, especially around your hips, which will make a massive improvement. And especially for me, so since I had my shoulder injury, I couldn't do that much, so I started to do more stretching and more mobility exercise, which helped me a lot to actually keep moving. I have a way better mobility now in my hips, where I used to be a little bit stiff, or a lot of quite stiff actually. Going into cardio, so even though we know that our strength will decline as we age, then we know from research, also because it has been researched the most, that our VO2 max is a big indicator on our longevity. And basically VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen you can use per minute. And we can train this by doing aerobic exercises, so you will basically just go full blast for 12 minutes, where you just try to cover as much distance as possible. So you can either do bike, you can do running, you can do rowing. If you use, for example, an assault bike, you get your whole body, so you will have a full body. So, but it can also be very taxing for the body. So let's say you train 3 times a week. So you do strength training. First day you do some strength training. And let's just say you do upper body, lower body, and then you do some aerobic by the end of the week. Because in that way you have plenty of energy for your strength training, and then you can burst everything out by the end. So when it comes to how we should eat, you've probably heard that you should go vegan because it's better than eating meat, or keto is better, carnivore is better, blah 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 blah. So mostly people have only tried one diet, that is actually healthy, which is that one, and they feel immediately better. But it doesn't matter. You could give them any diet, and they will have felt better immediately. The whole point is to cut out ultra processed food, and that's what all these diet has in common. But they're also all terrible in their own way because they have their own limitations and so on. So for you, it's important to think about what limitation can we put on yourself. You will probably have to mix some of it. You have to try maybe both ends to see how you feel. So, for example, I try keto. It really helped me with my appetite because fat and protein is very saturating. So it makes you feel very full. And that really helped me to stimulate my appetite because I just keep eating. So I managed to eat less by eating that way, but I also had to still go a bit backwards to include more carbs for my workouts. And there's also the fact that some people thrive on a vegan diet, some thrive on a carnivore diet, and you just have to figure out what works for you. And most people will mostly go on an omnivore diet. But there's some you can follow, it's called blue zones. So it's small pockets where people on average become 100 years. And the way they eat is not only what they eat and how they eat, but all the things around, because all this is a lifestyle. It's not something you do just to lose weight. Because the thing is, when we eat healthy, when we just eat meat, fruit, and vegetables, then we have more energy. And we will also be able to control our cravings and what we eat. You will crave less like candy and so on. And you also notice that your stomach feels way better. You become less sick, better mood. You feel more full after a meal. And it's also 10 times easier to manage your weight. But when you start eating healthy, you don't just want to jump into it because it's a new territory. You probably don't know any recipes. So you want to start small and build up with recipes and figure out what you like and what you don't like. So a great way to do it is either one time a week, one time a month. You cook one healthy meal that only include meat, vegetables, and maybe fruit. Then you just cook that, you try it, and then you can figure out, okay, do I like it, do I don't like it, and then you get used to it. You build up a few recipes, and when you then are ready to go for the jump, you maybe have 20 recipes now that is delicious meals that you can eat. So the blue zones habits around the food is also about socializing. You eat from the garden, homegrown food. The plates are way smaller, so you don't take all these big portions. And they also move throughout the day. But when it comes to the food, actually, there's some trends that go over and over again, which is that they eat at least 1 cup of beans a day, a handful of nuts, a lot of leafy greens, fish, or a little bit of beef. And some of the core food you want to eat that have plenty of nutrients is fish, organ meat, beans, leafy greens, eggs, blueberry, and nuts. So if you can base your meals around these type of foods, then we will have a very good start also to get all your nutrients. And basically, to sum it all up, you can have five points to sum it all up in, which is avoid ultra processed food, so everything with 5 or more ingredients. You want to eat whole food or one ingredient food. You want to eat the rainbow, which is that you eat all the different colors of vegetables. You eat a minimum of 1 gram of protein per kilogram body weight, and you can also do intermittent fasting. So you make sure you have space between each meal that you eat. So that was it for today's podcast. I'm Coach Jesper. See you in the next episode.